Hi guys, it's Kelly here and I'm back with another video. Today's video is featuring some products from Trinity Stamps. This is the Cut the Cake dies as well as the You Take the Cake dies. We're only going to be using one of those from there. We are using the Simply Sentiments Sweet. That is the stamps and the dies as well. And then I'm using the Stars and Sprinkles stencils and the layered confetti stencils. The layered confetti stencils are a bit older. For this particular die, the Cut the Cake die, it does have a stencil as well. I'm not using it today, but I know that those are easier for a lot of people to use, so I did just want to mention it. So this die, which you guys know, I'm cheap, so I love being able to get a lot of uses out of things. This die can be used to make an interactive card or just a regular die cut. And so we're going to do it both ways. A lot of the cards that I choose to make are birthday themed because those are the ones that I use the most. So this is going to help me kind of add to my stash. So I die cut out the cake, just the shadow, the outline, and then also the layers. For the whipped cream here, you want to cut one base piece and then run this detail die back over it to cut out the intricacies. I'm also going to cut out the cake again. This is for the interactive portion. So I'm doing double duty. I'm going to cut one as a whole and one as the inside shadows, and then I'm going to switch them so that I will have all of the pieces to stack on top of each other. It may make more sense to see it than the way that I'm explaining it. But here is that layer of the whipped cream. So it has the base piece and then the detail layer. And then I also here have the solid piece. And then with that, I'm going to flip-flop them. So that way I can create those frames. So with the base piece and then with the piece that has the details cut out of it, I'm going to take the detail layer and put it on top of the base piece that I've already die cut, and I will take the outline die and cut out the detail layers that I've already cut out. This is going to allow me to create two of the same kind of frame simultaneously. And I think I did 4 of those and then the one that I did on top because we have to create a big enough gap to be able to create that shaker element. So I just kept doing that as I was going, and here you can see I've cut several of them. They're up in that top left corner, and I'm working on my last one. So for the one that's not interactive, you don't need to do all of this but the one that is interactive, you do need those frames to stack up together unless you wanted to work with really teeny tiny foam bits, which I do not. So I found this to be much easier. So for the cake stands, I wanted to do a metallic. So I'm just lining this up on some silver mirror. I think this is the matte silver. But I'm not cutting out the whole thing because I really just need the bottom portion. So I'm saving that specialty cardstock, and I'm just going to cut out the bottom cake plate. I'm going to do it twice since we're using, we're making 2 cards. And then for the shaker, I'm also going to cut out of the base piece out of acetate. And that is going to act as our window. So it's going to be a shaker, but it's going to be a standalone shaker. So, if you wanted to make a shaped card, you could do that as well and put this on top because it would be a standalone piece. But we're going to make regular cards. So Trinity has recently come out with these blending brushes. You guys already know that I love their regular blending, but what do they call them? Blending buddies, I think is what they call them, because they hold a lot of pigment. So this is the Shading Sidekick, and I chose to use these. They work just as well as the blending buddies, but it allows me to have a lot more control because I have these two cakes. One of them I'm working as that's my background. And I want to do kind of like a rainbow of color. Nobody's shocked here on my channel that I want a rainbow. But sometimes that can be difficult to do with larger brushes. So these are giving me the opportunity to put down a thinner line of color, but not lose the intensity. And they do have a little bit of a unique shape. So they're kind of like angled, so you can just use them like I am, just, with their bristles just flat down, just laying a lot of color. Or you can use kind of that angled tip to have a little bit more control over where the color goes. So I like that. But most importantly, I like how much ink that they are putting down. Because I'm just being honest, ink blending, I don't dislike it, but I don't love it like I love coloring. And so sometimes it's just like a thing I have to do to get the look that I want to achieve. And anything that's going to allow me to do that a little bit faster, I'm happy with. So working from picked raspberry to, what do we use? Mustard seed, mowed lawn, peacock feathers, salty ocean, wilted violet. And so when the whole card is done, you can't necessarily see every single one of those colors individually. But when you're blending, that's not really the point, is it? Right? We want to just have a general overall look of a blended rainbow, and I was able to achieve that really easily on both of them. Now, because it is me, I cannot just leave well enough alone. And again, nobody is surprised. So once I went down and did it once, I'm going to go back through and do it a second time. I've said this before, I'll say it again. I totally stand by it. I think that you get a better blend and more saturated color when you blend things twice. So that is what I do. And I will be doing this as well. So once I get all the way out to the wilted violet, then I will start working my way back towards the picked raspberry. So that's that. We have recently, I've been putting more videos than usual lately. I don't know what's going on with the algorithm, but it doesn't like my videos right now. Whereas like before, I was pretty consistently getting, 2,000 to 3,000 views. I think the last video had like 800. So I'm not sure what is going on. I'm just going to keep doing what I've always done and hope it works itself back out. 'Cause to me, there is no rhyme or reason. Whenever you try to play to the algorithm, they change it. So it is what it is. So for this, I did want to add some glitter to my rainbow. You could absolutely add glitter paste. There's a lot of companies out there that have glitter paste. I decided I was going to use some translucent paste and then add some rock candy glitter on top. Something to note with this, because distress inks are reactive with water, they react with moisture. So I ran into a little bit of a problem where I was kind of moving the color around. So in order to avoid mixing your colors, just make sure you're paying attention to how you're spreading your color down. You may have to clean off your spatula in between. And I absolutely should. I should have had a piece of paper underneath this to catch all of that glitter. But I didn't. I think I was just like too excited about what was happening. So it did take me a little bit of work to get all of my glitter back into my tub, but that's okay. I did manage to do it. If you're recreating something like this or using that technique, please, please, please put down a piece of paper. It will be a lot easier for you to clean up. Here, this is for my non-interactive card. And so the reason that I am tracing the outline onto the base is because I want to know where to add my shadows. Now, if I had been using the stencil, this would not be necessary because the stencil would mark it. And honestly, in hindsight, it probably would have been easier even if I only put down like just a simple layer of color, just to mark where it was so that I could go back in and add it. That probably would have been easier. I did it this way because this is how I normally do it if I don't have a stencil. So just something to keep in mind. So I did both of my cakes the same. I wanted them to be chocolate with some really colorful, like rainbow frosting. So I did not show you. Again, I must have just been really excited. So I used Copic markers for this, and I used a 53, 50, an E, 53, 55, 57, and 59. So I'm going to go through here one time and put down my shadows, and then I will check it with the frosting to see if I need to add anything else. And I'm just going to tell you now, I do end up going a little bit darker. I just felt that it needed it, but you can, whatever flavor of cake that you're doing. The other thing that you will probably notice here is from the guide, like the die cut where we've cut out the frame, the frosting on this one is moved up. So because the way that the die is drawn, in order for it to be interactive, it needs to have those areas in between, so that you can keep the sparkles separated, 3 layers of sparkles. But for the one that is non-interactive, I moved up the frosting so that it looked like it was kind of coming over each edge. So here, that's what you see me doing. I am going back in and I'm holding them up to where I want them to be, and then I'm marking it with the icing. Now, normally I would do this with the lightest color, but I know I'm not using those. Those were just like extras from all of the frame cutting that we had to do, because I'm going to be die cutting that beautiful glitter rainbow to go as my frosting. So here I just went back through and, just darkened up those shadows once I marked them, and then I'll move back out towards those lightest colors as we go. So, so we talked about some vacation things, and currently I'm struggling to kind of get back into the swing of things. Since we had our little long weekend, because there's a lot of things that I needed to catch up on. So so right now, while I'm doing this voiceover, I have my oldest hanging out with my youngest because my husband isn't home from work yet. So I don't know how you guys grew up, but the way that I grew up, my sisters, I'm the youngest sibling in my family. So my sisters were always my babysitters. We had very, very few, like outside of each other, outside of family babysitters, when I was young. And then once my my older sister was always pretty much old enough to watch me, because there's so many years between us. But my middle sister, once she got old enough to watch me, that was my babysitter. Let's go back to the card. So here, now that I have that coloring done, I am going to die cut out the detail layer to make my sparkly frosting here. And then I'm going to just make sure that those are matched up and I am happy with the way that they are looking, which I am. And then there's that silver kind of cake plate that we die cut out of there. For the interactive card, that's what this one is. I'm going to do the same thing. Like, I'm going to color it with the same colors. But obviously we know that there's going to be that negative area that will be our frosting, and that's going to be the shaker portion. So anywho, when I was growing up, I actually just saw a reel that was showing these two sisters getting into getting into like an argument in the middle of the front yard, and they start like fighting, and you can hear their mom like, oh no, and she's like running out the door. And I jokingly posted it and tagged my sisters like memories, because my sisters were my babysitters, but that doesn't mean that we did not argue and fight and bicker just nonstop. And especially being three girls, like we fought over the phone, we fought over clothes, we fought over well, because back in like we didn't have like well, they don't even cordless phones, I guess is what you would refer to. We didn't even until we were a little bit older, we had a corded phone. And if you wanted to have a private conversation, you had to stretch the phone all the way from the kitchen into the bathroom. And then you had to sit in the you had to sit in the bathroom if you wanted any kind of privacy to have a telephone conversation. Wild times. But anywho, so here I'm just double checking that, and then I'm happy with that. And then I'm going to darken that up just a little bit. And then I'll do the grays on the bottom. So the silver is going to act as the actual cake plate, and then the gray is going to be the shadow that surrounds it. So I have noticed this, obviously, with my own children. Even though there is a pretty significant age gap between the two of them, it doesn't seem to matter. Did you guys find this to be true with your siblings or with your children? Like, it's still, he's looking out my window. No, she's looking out my window. Like, what? Why? Why are we arguing over people's windows? Everybody can see out of everybody's windows. Like, that's just the way that it is when you're in a car, folks. So here, this is the little whipped cream from the You Take the Cake, which I think is totally adorable, and I plan to use that for more birthday cards. But I really wanted just one little dollop of whipped cream. And I thought that's why you see so many die cut here, because I thought, well, maybe I would cut them and then I would use them on the little cake layers, which I'm not going to lie, is still an idea for the future. But I chose to just do one at the top, and then so I could use the little cherry. So I used some warm grays, a W1 and a W3. And I just shaded that front one because I am going to trim them out so that it will look like one full dollop of whipped cream. For the cherries, I used 3 colors, an R59, an R29, and an R35. Darkest at the bottom, mid-tone kind of all around the edges, and then the lightest in the center. And then what did I do? Oh, I think I used the E57 for the stems. That's what it looks like to me. And then here is where I'm holding them together, and I'm just going to trim out that first one so that I have that one full dollop of whipped cream. And honestly, I think you really can't even tell in the future. I did originally think I was going to use a candle on one of them. That ended up not being the case, but I still left it in here just so that you could see. So for all of these frames that we've die cut, we have to glue all of these together. And that is what is going to create the, what is the word that I want? It's going to create the gap where like a little well is what it's going to create. So it's going to create like a little well where all of our little sparkles and sequins and gems and stuff can live and be our shaker. So ironically, because we're talking about this, I had to stop my voiceover and go back and restart a portion of it because you could hear my darling little jelly bean yelling at the top of her lungs, "I beat you upstairs." Because siblings, y'all, it is for real. So here, as I've been gluing them together, I want to make sure that you're still not going to be able to see those white edges from the side. So I am doing the brown and then the gray along the side, and then, kind of double checking that. I did have to go back in with the gray a little bit more heavy-handed. You could see a little bit more of that. So now, this is the top piece. And this top piece, I'm actually going to glue to the acetate that we die cut out with the shadow layer. So this is going to act as the lid. So all of those ones we put together are creating the well, and then that acetate piece is creating the lid. Now, real talk. Gluing to this glitter was very challenging, and you'll see that I did like put the glue down, and then I put some weight on top of it to help it like really glue down, and it was still a challenge. So I think in the future, what I would do is maybe use a dry adhesive to make sure that I was going to get something that adhered really well, or use a lot more liquid glue. It's still holding together, like as I'm doing this voiceover, and I made these quite a while ago, more at the beginning of the month. It's still holding together, but I do see how there are some places that if I had just like fine glitter, that it would probably come out. So anyway, while I'm waiting for that to dry, I'm going to come over here and make the one that is the not interactive. So I've stacked everything up, and now I'm going ahead and putting on my glitter frosting, which I love. I think is so cute. And you can see, kind of like that rainbow look that we're going for. This is the one that I decided to put the candle on. And I mean, you're going to see by the end, the candle doesn't stay. I didn't love the way that the candle looked, but to each their own. And I'm sure that I'll use it in the future just for this particular design. And I think it's because all of the frosting is so well blended. The candle just looked too bright. I don't know. It wasn't it for me. So now here we're filling in our little wells I chose to go with more like clear sequins, confetti, gems, those types, and they are on the smaller side. I did use like a little die tool to kind of break them up if they were sticking together. And I'm just going to fill them until I am happy with the amount that is in there. You want to be careful you don't overfill them because, again, we only have as much room as many pieces of cardstock as we stacked together. So that's however many pieces you stacked is how deep your well is. And if you don't want them to be too full or they won't shake. So then once I have that, here what I'm doing is I'm going back. Remember I told you I had some challenges with the glitter background. So I'm just going back in and putting in more adhesive. And then I'm going to put on my lid now that I am happy with the way all of my filling is sitting. You're going to laugh because I'm totally making a huge boo-boo. Do you see down in the bottom left-hand corner? That's my cake stand. I'm about to glue this thing together and it's going to have no cake stand in it. It's just going to have this purple, white looking whatever that is. And I pick it up to push it down, and then I realize panic sets in. So thankfully, we're using liquid adhesive, and it did peel up really easily. I did have to tuck back in some of the filling, but thankfully, it wasn't really too big of a deal. It wasn't really that noticeable, probably because I caught it right away. But yeah, so anyway, gonna push that down in there, and I didn't really have any issues with it like sitting down. Sometimes it can be challenging when you have them all kind of stacked together, but really I didn't have any issues. Then I am going to reapply my adhesive onto my lid with my acetate, and then I will put this down on top of the cake to seal all my little shaker bits in. So yeah, I mean, I remember when I was younger, and mostly it was my middle sister who was my babysitter, who was in charge of childcare because we were so close in age that my older sister was off doing other things. And so it was mostly my middle sister, and we fought, y'all. We fought like cats and dogs. We fought all the time. My poor mother. And so I was like, well, surely my kids are however many years apart, but no, but not true at all. So here I did add some glossy accents to both of the cherries, and then I also added it to the icing on top of the non-interactive card. So not only is it glittery, and yes, even though I put the glossy accents on top, it still does glitter. It still catches it. It's now glossy, which I was a huge fan of. For the backgrounds, I didn't want to do anything that was going to be too crazy, but I wanted something that was going to be festive. So I pulled out my stencils. The layered confetti one, which is the one on the left, is a little bit older, but it still is a great birthday kind of vibe for the stencil. And then the one on the right is the stars and sprinkles, and I'm treating them both the same way, where they're staying mostly at the top. The stars and sprinkles can be a full background, but I chose to just kind of do it on the first top half to maybe a third down, and I just used all of the same colors that we used in the icing. I just use them in different ways. And so I am fortunate. I have I have one like grip mat that's just the grip mat. And then the other one is the inside of my stamp wheel sticky mat. So I was able to kind of do them both at the same time since I was using two different stencils and I had two different sticky mats. But yeah, so I just went in. I tried to use colors that would work well together on each of the layers to get all of the colors in there. But truthfully, it ended up being kind of more on the purplish blue side than I expected. But that's okay, because they're both still pretty. So, whatever works. But so yeah, this is, if you haven't seen, I'm about a week and a half late. Trinity has had a new release, and it's all really great, fun birthday things. There was one, the candy jar set. I actually did a shaker with that way back when Trinity was celebrating their first year anniversary. I got to be a part of that blog hop as a guest designer, and so I did turn that one into a shaker. I might even use that layered confetti stencil on the same one. I'll have to see if I found it, or if I can find it to link it at the end. But they have brought it back because it was so popular. And so I'm excited to get that out and use it again, because it's such a cute little candy jar. And as previously discussed, we know that I like making all of the birthday cards. So here are those backgrounds, very festive. You could totally leave them like this. I decided that I was going to do a little black underneath for them to have something to sit on. So that is what I'm doing here where the cake stand is. I don't want to see any of that white. So I'm going around it with the black. I chose to cut out two different sweets from that sentiment set. So one is a really cute kind of thin script sweet, and the other one is a little bit more bold. And then I'm cutting out some little labels to go with that. So one of them will say "Have a sweet birthday," and one of them will say "Sweet birthday wishes." So these ones are great because, like, in my family, like in December, there's like 3 or 4 birthdays. And so I'm always looking for something that I've already made for my niece and my nephew, because in December, I'm like in the throes of Christmas card making. Not that, I mean, I should be making them earlier, considering this is what I do for a living, but do I? No, I do not. Professional procrastinator. That is me. So the sweet goes down on that black shadow all in one piece. For the one that's a little bit bolder, it is in individual pieces, but it's really easy to line those up, and you can see just from the shape of the shadow where those things are supposed to go. And for the other ones, I just used my paper trimmer to just trim them down into little rectangles, so that way I could kind of stack them up. The The non-interactive one doesn't have as much height, so that one's a little bit easier to work with. The one that is interactive, obviously we've stacked together all of these cardstocks to make that well. So in order to put the sentiment on it, I really do need some foam tape. So I'm going to glue that black strip that I think it's about an inch wide, I think is what I did. And so I'm going to glue that down there, and then that way I can put my cake right on top of it. We have the cute little confettis in the background. And then we will add the sentiment. So like I said, for this one, the both of them are kind of like to the down and to the bottom right. But the sweet, that EET that's hanging over there really does need some foam tape to make it stable. So I just adhered it down and then slid that foam piece underneath it. And then I'll do the same thing for birthday. The have a portion of it is going to sit on top of the shaker. So I don't really need to worry too much about that. It's going to be flush because it's going to be sitting on top of the highest element. So that's the cute little shaker. I think it's totally adorable. And then, we'll put together this one the same way. So like kind of two cards that are the same, but different. And so I like that. I like that it could be both a shaker and not a shaker. So that way you can make them more or less interactive. So that is both cards. I hope that it inspired you, to make some birthday cards and maybe try some different techniques. Thank you guys so much for joining me. I always appreciate your time, and I'll catch you on the next video. Bye.